So, welcome to part three of communication. I feel like no matter how long I speak and how much I speak about communication, it's like I'm not going to be able to stress enough the importance of it. In order to explain better, I'm going to tell you a little story. And this is a story I mentioned just before of me reaching seven, $8,000 a month. I went from 8,000 a month to zero. Literally, I could show you, for those who are interested, I could show you the screenshots of January, February, March of, when that happened, which was back in 2021. We went to zero, and maybe $200. We got like one order or something, but we used to make 8,000 a month. And so I had a chat with Fiverr, and obviously they didn't help at all. And then I just realized that I had to see what happened in depth. I went to every order I had during that period prior to the downfall, and I analyzed. And I just analyzed how I was speaking to customers, how I was communicating with them, because I knew the logos were just as good because I have a folder with all my logos. I can easily see this. But going through every order, I realized how much my communication changed without even me noticing. So that's why I can't stress enough communication. And you're probably sick of hearing me say this over and over again. But it's because even me myself, I could not understand. Like Fiverr would always say communication, communication. You always get emails like, oh, your communication. And it's just everything they talk about is communication. And I was so fed up about it. I was sure that people didn't care and that and that all I had is to just communicate all right and say what I'm doing and deliver. But no, like communication is actually the most important part. But ourselves, we don't really understand how well we're communicating. And that's why you have to self reflect. You have to look at yourself from an outside perspective and see if you're being empathetic, if you're being kind, if you're being caring, if you're reacting well to every situation. And obviously, the biggest situation is when they're not happy. How are you reacting when they're not happy? When they're not happy, most freelancers I see, and it happens to me all the time when I'm buying from people, they get defensive. This is the number one big mistake that they make, because what happens when they get defensive? I get frustrated. Always consider the buyer's feedback as true, genuine, and comes from the freaking heart, because it does. If they're saying something, you know, in one out of the 200, he's just going to be an asshole and asking for revisions for nothing. But in most cases, it's always heartfelt. And so imagine they're having a heartfelt revision request, a heartfelt feeling, and you're being defensive and you're saying, oh, well, no, this should be this, like that. It is provoking an immense amount of frustration to your buyer. And this is truly something that most people don't understand on Fiverr still today. And still, people who are already having a bit of success still don't understand. And usually, it's when they get a bit of success and they're not managing the growth, as I just mentioned before, that they have really this terrible way of being slightly cocky, where they just are defensive, and it creates an immense amount of frustration. And even if the end result is good, the experience has been so bad that even if I leave a 5-star review, I'm never going to leave a private review. I'm never going to take care. I'm never going to leave a tip. I'm never going to really create this promotion for this buyer, for this seller, sorry. So this is why I emphasize it. Now you know, and really, really take care of your communication. So private ratings and advanced part of communication. So private ratings, as I said, are ratings that come one day after. And again, this is about the aftermath. You want to make sure that people are going to complete that private rating. If you're able to get people to manage that, to complete that private rating automatically, you will be the king on Fiverr. You will grow like insanity. But obviously, it's hard because people don't really care. People come to Fiverr, they go and leave quick. People don't are not here to make friends. They're not here to create connections. So you have to create connections with people in order for them to place private rating. And if you don't have that connection, they will never do it. So, that's why I talked about the aftermath and, making sure you send a message one day later. But it goes really from the beginning, from day one, to how you greet them, to how you communicate, to how friendly you are. And if you manage to create a connection, and in your deliverables, for example, if you have a video of you explaining, they're going to be blown away and they're going to put the private rating because they saw you, they saw the effort, and more and more and more. So again, focus on getting that private rating completed. Obviously, you're not allowed to just say complete that by private rating, but you can use mental strategies like the message aftermath and simply sending them a message at the moment where they're going to receive it and say, I really appreciate your feedback. It is very, very important to me. It was a pleasure to work with you, and I really hope you have an amazing journey with your business. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. So see how everything you're going to do in communication is actually the only factor which is going to matter when it comes to your Fiverr gig. Moving on. So now I wonder, you're probably thinking, okay, Louis, you're telling all these tips, but what about actual blueprints like you said you would give? So here is one of the first blueprints that I'm giving you. So for the first call, so these are all the different messages that you need to send. This is the ultimate Fiverr blueprint for communication. You can, screenshot this, go in depth for it. You can ask me for the PDF in the Telegram group. I will send you all this, but basically, I'm going to go over it very quickly. So, new buyer, thank them for reaching out, answer their questions, introduce yourself. Very important. Introduce yourself. Provide options of services and explain each one in detail if you have option. Set expectations. If it's a return buyer, thank them for coming back, answer their questions, remind them of their workflow. Sorry, that was first contact. So when they purchase, break down what was purchased and how it will be delivered, explain your communication process, explain your cancellation policy. So the third one is slightly, it's hard to address. I like to sometimes mention it depending on how the buyer is and how he's acting. If he's like, yeah, well, I'm placing the order, but if it's not good, I'll get a refund. Usually you got to watch out for these people, and it's better to set your cancellation policy before, because if they're going to be complete pain, it's better to order before. I will speak about the cancellation rate in a bit. Ongoing, etc., etc. Reach out with an update at least every 2 days. I recommend every day and 12 hours before the delivery. Provide the drafts when you can. People like it. I personally do not do it because it depends on which service you're providing, of course. But me with logo, it makes no sense when it's a minimal logo, because sometimes minimal logos are just squares. So involve the buyer in the creative process when possible. Ask and implement changes and revision before delivery. Provide final draft when possible. Guarantee delivery will be approved. Deliver all the project at once. Ask them to check the delivery and let you know if there's any problems. Specify that you are still available for changes. Very, very important. When you deliver, make sure you are open. Openness is one of the most important part of communication. Never say no, and always be available, and always feel like you're happy to make feedback and happy to make revisions. Even if we all know it sucks, we all hate it, make sure they feel you're happy of making revisions, because they will be able to say what they really feel. If they feel you're being, picky and you're not really down to make the revisions, they will really feel bad, and they might not say what they think and end up unhappy and will put you a very, very bad private review. This is something that kills a lot of gigs. After delivery, thank you for ordering them. Let them know you're available. Ask them to leave feedback so other buyers can hear on your experience. And of course, include a kind message. Fiverr aftermath, the order aftermath. Sorry. So empathy. This is, I've mentioned this several times, but again, be kind, be genuine, be open, and care for the product.